I stared at the confirmation email glowing on my laptop screen. $11,400. My signature on months of overtime. Weekends lost. Vacations skipped. All poured into one trip.
Japan.
A gift for Allison's 40th. A gift for us. For 21 years, I'd carried this marriage on my back, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. I'd built a career as one of Philadelphia's most trusted engineers. Allison built her photography studio from nothing. Together, we raised Lily, now 19, and Noah, 16. They weren't kids anymore. They were becoming their own people. Sometimes too much their own. But this trip, this was supposed to bring us back together. To remind Allison, and maybe me, that love still lived under all the dust of routine. "You booked it?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe, coffee mug in hand, her copper hair pulled into a loose bun. I couldn't help but smile. 2 weeks. Tokyo. Kyoto. Osaka. The whole thing, I told her. I'd even added a photography tour at Mount Fuji, the dream she'd mentioned years ago, but never pursued. For a moment, the old Allison flickered back. She kissed my cheek, whispered, "Thank you." It was the first unplanned touch in months. But that night, something shifted. She couldn't stop smiling at her phone. Her fingers moved fast across the screen, a private joy she didn't share with me. When I asked, she brushed it off, plans with old friends before the trip. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the next morning, while she showered, I saw the name on her screen.
David.
The messages made my blood run cold. "David, can't wait to see Japan with you. Like old times. Allison. Victor thinks it's a family trip. Don't worry. I've got it covered." David Reynolds. Her ex. The one before me. A photographer. The man who first taught her to see the world through a lens. The one who left for Seattle decades ago. Apparently, he was back. I didn't confront her. Not yet. An architect knows. Never act before the plan is sound. Instead, I studied her. Over dinner, she spoke of preparing for a gallery exhibition. Lily eagerly offered to help. Too eagerly. Noah barely looked up from his games. I went to work the next day, but my head wasn't in blueprints or steel beams. My colleague Russell noticed. "Everything all right? Thought you'd be excited about Japan." I lied. I am. But my smile was hollow. The whispers between Allison and Lily grew louder by their silence. Shopping trips that ended with no bags. Japanese words rolling off her tongue from a semester abroad she'd never once mentioned revisiting. I began keeping records. Notes. Expenses. Timelines. I treated her betrayal like a project, documenting every crack in the foundation. One night, I followed her, not to the studio, to an upscale apartment downtown. I watched through the glass as she embraced a tall man, salt and pepper hair, glasses, the same artsy confidence she always admired. David Reynolds. He hadn't lost it. They vanished into the elevator together. I drove home in silence and opened our financial records. What I found wasn't just infidelity. It was theft. $30,000 siphoned, dollar by dollar, from our accounts over the past year. Enough to vanish if she wanted. Enough to cut me off. This wasn't weakness. This was a plan. So I made one too. I moved my personal assets into private accounts, kept records of every transfer, quietly called a divorce lawyer. I didn't breathe a word. 3 days before the trip, I passed Lily's room. Her voice stopped me cold. "Mom says David's fine with a twin bed situation since they'll be sharing anyway. Dad's clueless. No, he thinks he's going too. It's Mom's birthday. She deserves to be with someone who makes her happy. My daughter. My own blood.
She was part of this.
My sacrifice, my gift, had been twisted into their playground. That night, I sat in my office, staring at a family photo that mocked me. Smiles frozen in a lie. The calm, steady man I had been, he was gone. In his place was someone sharper, colder, unshakable. They wanted new rules.
Fine.
I would show them how it felt when the ground gave way. The message from Lily was short.
Cold.
almost playful in its cruelty. We gave your spot to Mom's ex, David. He's more fun. Mom didn't know how to tell you. I stared at the words. Not anger. Not grief. Something else took over, something sharper. The man who would have raged or begged was gone. In his place stood a version of me I didn't fully recognize yet. Detached. Focused. Like a steel beam cooling into place. I typed 2 words in reply. Got it. At the construction site that morning, I moved like a machine.
Hammer.
Measure.
Direct. Correct.
But my mind wasn't there. By noon, I told my team I had a family emergency and left. My first stop, the bank. I sat across from the manager, slid documents across the desk. I'd like to review unusual activity on our joint accounts. Her professional expression softened into something almost pitying as she read. Mr. Reeves, I'll help however I can. By the time I walked out, I'd frozen the accounts, locked down assets, and triggered a full forensic audit. Every dollar Allison siphoned was now under scrutiny. Next came the credit cards. All canceled. All except one. I lowered its limit to almost nothing, leaving it alive only as evidence. A paper trail I could use later. That evening, Noah found me in the garage sorting tools. Dad, why aren't you packing? We leave tomorrow night. His voice carried an innocence that sliced through me. I looked at him carefully. Are you in on it too? His brow furrowed. In on what? I tested him. Your mother and sister plan to replace me with David Reynolds. His face drained of color.
What? No.
Who's David Reynolds? He didn't know. My son hadn't been included in their conspiracy. Your mother's ex. Apparently, he's taking my place on the trip I paid for. Noah's shock shifted to anger. That's messed up. Does Mom know you know? I shook my head. Not yet. And you won't tell her. Listen carefully, Noah. You have a choice. Go with them, knowing what they've done, or stay with me. Either way, this family will never be the same. Noah's jaw tightened. I'm not going anywhere with liars. For the first time that day, warmth cracked through the ice inside me. My son had chosen loyalty. After he left, I called Franklin Webb my attorney. I want everything expedited. And I want the locks changed while they're gone. Victor, that's legally questionable. Lock changes before proceedings. I own the house outright. Check the deed. A pause. You're right. Still, there are proper channels. I cut him off. Franklin, they're taking my wife's lover on a vacation I paid for. I'm past proper channels. That night, while the house slept, I opened Allison's laptop. Her password hadn't changed in years. Lilinoa 2003. Within minutes, I forwarded everything to myself, messages, plans, their little fantasies. I found the email that gutted me. David, I've secured most of what we need. Victor suspects nothing. After Japan, I'll file the papers. The kids will adjust. Lily already adores you. This house will fetch enough for us to start fresh. Just a little longer in this charade. Seattle. Real estate listings. Their plan wasn't a fling. It was an extraction. A clean break funded by me. The next morning, Allison and Lily fluttered around the house, nervous energy masked as excitement. Suitcases rolled across hardwood floors. Glances darted at me like they were checking for cracks in my armor. I gave them none. I carried luggage to the trunk. Smiled faintly. Pretended. We should leave for the airport by 4. Allison said carefully. I've got a meeting. Take my car. More trunk space. I'll Uber. Relief washed over her face when I didn't object. Perfect, she added. Your itinerary's on the counter. I hugged Noah, whispering, play along. I'll explain later. I hugged Lily too, but it was mechanical. Enjoy Japan. Take pictures. When Allison leaned in for a goodbye kiss, I turned my face, gave her my cheek. Happy birthday, Trip, I said flatly. After they pulled away, silence fell heavy. Noah sat across from me at the kitchen table. What now, Dad? I opened my laptop.
Now?
We cancel everything. One by one, I dismantled their dream vacation.
Flights.
Hotels.
Tours.
Transportation. Every booking under my name.
Every charge on my card.
I called each company, explained cancellations, paid whatever fees they demanded. $11,400 gone into thin air. Next came the house. A locksmith replaced every lock before nightfall. When Allison and Lily arrived at the airport, their phones would explode with reality. Flights canceled, cards declined, no home waiting when they returned. My phone buzzed with their frantic messages. I ignored them. But I wasn't finished. That night, I composed an email to Allison's clients and business contacts. Carefully worded, professional, announcing her extended personal leave and directing her business elsewhere. Not slander. Not defamation. Just enough to starve her studio. Noah watched me work, his eyes caught between fear and awe. Dad, what's happening to you? I looked up. He saw something new in me. Something dangerous.
Clarity, son.
For the first time in years, I see everything perfectly. An engineer learns early. Demolition isn't chaos. It's precision. Tear down a structure wrong, and it takes you with it. That thought carried me as I turned to Noah. Pack what matters. We're moving. His head snapped up. Moving? Where? The Riverside property. He blinked. Riverside wasn't a name I'd ever spoken at home. Years earlier, I'd bought a foreclosed house on the riverbank, renovated it quietly, and kept it as a rental. The tenants had left last month. I hadn't listed it again. Until now, it had been just another asset. Tonight, it became something else. Providence. I drove Noah there. A modest 3-bedroom, nothing flashy, but solid. A place that could hold us. A place untouched by Allison. Mom doesn't know this exists, I told him. It's mine alone. Bought with Grandpa's inheritance. Noah let out a low whistle. You've been planning this for years? I shook my head. Not planning. Protecting. But now, it's our sanctuary. The next morning I made calls. Utility companies at the old house. Services dialed down to minimum, just enough to make it look lived in. Security firm hired to wire cameras at every entrance. Nothing would slip past me now. By noon, Franklin Webb showed up with papers. His voice carried caution. Victor, this is moving fast. The courts don't look kindly on vindictiveness. This isn't vindictiveness, I said, signing. It's survival. I filed for divorce. Abandonment. Adultery. Cold words for a cold truth. Did you secure the freeze? I asked. This morning. All joint assets frozen. The forensic accountant's report backs your claims. Impropriety is clear. Noah had been listening from the hall. He stepped inside, face hard. You're really not taking Mom back, are you? I met his eyes. Would you respect me if I did? He thought, then shook his head.
No.
But I never thought you'd be this ruthless. Neither did I. After Franklin left, the phone rang. Russell, my colleague. Victor, Allison's calling through the office. She sounds desperate. Something about being stranded in Chicago. Flights canceled. I kept my tone even. Russell, I need a favor. That Palmer condo project. Let's accelerate. That's 6 months away. Not anymore. Site evaluation next week. Victor, what's going on? Professional opportunity. Nothing more. I hung up before his curiosity dug deeper. Then I checked the cameras. A locksmith was drilling into my new locks, Allison's mother hovering nearby with anxious eyes. I dialed the police, reported a break-in. Officers arrived, met with the deed in my name, and escorted them off the property. Inside the Riverside house, Noah sat quietly, phone in hand. His expression told me something. Lily's been texting, he said finally. They're stuck in Chicago. Mom's cards keep getting declined. David can't cover new tickets. They're fighting. Money pressure shows true character, I said. Lily says they're coming back tomorrow. She wants to know if we're here. Tell her we're with Russell. Don't mention this place. The following day, alerts pinged my phone. Allison tried to pull from her home equity line.
Blocked.
Minutes later, she attempted to access our investment accounts. Denied. She was flailing. Noah's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mom. Lily. Desperation in every call. He answered sparingly, keeping our cover intact. They'll be back tonight, he said after one. Mom sounds weird.
Calm.
Like the calm before something bad. The calm of someone plotting, I muttered. Any word on David?
Yeah.
Lily says he's being supportive. Whatever that means. Evening fell. The cameras flickered to life with headlights. A taxi pulled up to the old house. Allison, Lily, and David. We watched from Riverside. They struggled with the locks, pounding the doors, peering into windows like trespassers. Allison's fists bruised the wood. Lily circled like a trapped animal. David stayed back on the sidewalk, shifting awkwardly, his discomfort obvious. Then Allison called the police. I waited. The officers arrived, listened, checked the locks. No signs of forced entry. I hit the remote. Floodlights burst alive, and music thundered through the exterior speakers. Vivaldi's Winter. A symphony Allison hated. The officers turned to her, advised she speak to her husband about the locks. One noticed David and asked his relation to the property. Their fumbling explanation was recorded perfectly on my system. Beside me, Noah whispered, Dad, this is intense. They have nowhere to go. They have David's place, I said. The same apartment your mother has been disappearing to for months. On screen, the three of them finally retreated back to the waiting taxi. Defeated on the screen, I watched them unravel, arguing, defeated, their bodies heavy with anger and shame. I closed the laptop. Act 1 was finished. Noah's voice broke the silence. What does that mean? It means tomorrow, I said, we start showing them the price of betrayal. He frowned. What contractors? What work? I allowed myself a thin smile. A complete renovation. Every surface your mother picked. Every design she bragged about. Erased. By the time I'm done, she won't recognize the house she thought she'd sell out from under me. Noah studied me differently then. Like he was seeing me for the first time. This isn't just punishment, is it? You're erasing her. Not erasing, I corrected. Replacing. There's a difference. I rested a hand on his shoulder. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be instructive for both of us. When he left, I opened my email. A new message from the forensic accountant. Preliminary findings. Systematic financial diversion dating back 18 months. $43,700 hidden in an account under Allison's maiden name. The recommendation was clear. Immediate legal action. I forwarded it to Franklin with one word. Proceed. The foundation was set. The woman who thought she could orchestrate betrayal was about to discover that I built consequences with the same precision I built skyscrapers. 3 days later, my phone rang. Allison. Her voice shifted from soft to sharp in the span of a breath. Victor, this is childish. We need to talk like adults. I agree, I said evenly. My attorney will contact yours. Attorney? We don't need attorneys. Just let us back into our home, and we'll work this out rationally. Our home, I repeated. The deed bears only my name, Allison. Something you seemed prepared to overlook when you planned to sell it. Silence. Then, quieter. You read my emails. Yes. That's invasion of privacy. I didn't flinch. Less invasive than bringing your lover on a family trip. Less deceptive than stealing from our accounts. Tell me, between those violations, which one sits higher on your moral scale? Her pause stretched. Then, the children need their home. Noah is with me, I said. Lily made her choice. How's David's pull-out couch working for her? Her voice hardened. This won't end well for you. Courts favor mothers. Courts also favor documented evidence. I have 18 months of financial records. Communications outlining your plan to defraud me. And witnesses, plenty of them, to your affair. Witnesses? What witnesses? The dinner reservations under David's name. The hotel check-ins. The gallery events where you arrived alone but left together. People notice. Especially when I ask them to. For the first time, fear cracked her tone. What do you want? Justice, I said simply. Nothing more. Nothing less. At least let me get my photography equipment. That equipment was purchased with marital funds you siphoned. It's evidence now. Victor, please. My attorney will contact you before the day is over. Until then, think about how quickly fortunes turn. One day you're planning a luxury trip with your lover, spending your husband's money. The next, you're begging for access to the tools of your trade. I hung up. Noah had been listening nearby. Mom sounds scared. Fear, I said, turning back to my laptop, is the right response to consequences. Blueprints glowed on the screen. Renovation plans for the house. Demolition starts tomorrow. Her studio space is first. Noah shifted uncomfortably, scrolling his phone. Lily keeps texting. Says she didn't know about Mom and David until a few months ago. When? 3 months. I nodded slowly. And yet, she helped replace me on that trip instead of telling me the truth. She says she wanted to protect Mom's happiness, even if it hurt you. An interesting moral equation for a 19-year-old. I closed the laptop and looked at him. How are you holding up? He shrugged. His voice was low, conflicted. Part of me thinks this is too much. But then, I remember what they did. And I get it. I put a hand on his shoulder again. There's a difference between revenge and justice. Revenge is emotional. Justice is proportional. Which do you think this is? His eyes searched mine. I gave him no answer. Only silence. The next morning, Franklin arrived with court documents. The judge granted the emergency order. All marital assets are frozen. Allison's lawyer requested a hearing. When? Tomorrow. 2 o'clock. You'll need to appear. I'll be there. Franklin hesitated, shuffling his notes. There's more. David Reynolds has filed a Hatchesman-Tessman claim. Says you interfered with his contract at Palmer Development. I frowned. I accelerated the project timeline. That's a business decision. His interpretation is irrelevant. Perhaps. But alongside your other actions, it creates a pattern. The court may not look kindly on it. I understand. Anything else? Yes. Franklin exhaled. Allison's studio landlord called. Franklin's warning echoed in the room. Victor, the courts appreciate clean hands. What you're doing might be justified on paper, but it could make Allison look sympathetic. I leaned back, unshaken. I'm not interested in sympathy, Franklin. I'm interested in accountability. When he left, I drove straight to the house. The home I had built, piece by piece, paycheck by paycheck, was already stripped bare. The living room walls stood naked, the studs exposed like bones. The marble fireplace Allison had once fought for, the one she claimed completed the space, lay broken in a heap of dust and rubble. In the kitchen, the custom cabinets she bragged about were stacked on the floor, waiting to be carried out like corpses. The foreman walked over. We're on track. Studio gets gutted tomorrow, like you asked. Good. Nothing leaves the property without an inventory, I said. My voice was flat, final. As I turned to leave, a black SUV rolled to a stop. David Reynolds climbed out. His swagger was gone, replaced with something tighter, something nervous. Reeves, he called. We need to talk. I stopped. I have nothing to say to you. This has gone too far. You've made your point. Have I? I asked. My tone was surgical, cutting. That's an interesting take coming from the man sleeping with my wife in an apartment I'm still paying for. His face flushed. Look, I get it. You're hurt. I laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Hurt? You misunderstand me entirely. I'm not hurt. I'm simply answering action with proportion. By destroying Allison's business? By leaving your daughter homeless. My daughter chose sides in a war she helped create. As for Allison's business, she was abandoning it anyway. You know that. Seattle made sure of it. The blood drained from his face. How do you? I know everything, Reynolds. Every email, every text, every whispered plan. I know about the properties you two were researching, the schools you were scouting for Lily. I know about the job inquiries on Allison's behalf. I even know the numbers you ran on my assets. His voice faltered. That's private. So was my marriage. I stepped in close enough for him to see there wasn't an ounce of fear left in me. Here's what happens. You back off. No contact with my attorneys. You pull your claim. And you convince Allison to take the deal when it comes. His jaw clenched. Or what? I gestured to the gutted house around us. This is only the beginning. I have resources you've underestimated, patience you can't imagine, and a resolve you'll never match. He tried to mask it, but his eyes betrayed him, caught between rage and uncertainty. You can't intimidate me. I'm not intimidating you, I said, checking my watch. I'm educating you. And now, you're trespassing. Every word of this is on my cameras. Leave before I make the call. He left. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Noah. Lily called, crying. David and Mom are fighting about money. She wants to come stay with us. My response was immediate, only if she's ready for complete honesty. That evening, Lily arrived at Riverside. She looked smaller than I remembered, her fire dimmed. Dad, she started. Not now. I cut in. There are conditions. First, honesty. No lies, not one. Second, acknowledgement of the part you played in this. Third, you accept the consequences. Her eyes filled, spilling tears. I thought I was helping Mom. By betraying me? That's your math. I didn't know about the money, she whispered. I just knew she and David were happy together. And my happiness? My face remained stone. That didn't matter? She looked down. I thought you and Mom were done anyway. You were always working, hardly talking. So you became judge, jury, and executioner of our marriage? And of my trip.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
Everything's falling apart. Mom's a mess. David's panicking about money. My classes start next week, and I don't even have my stuff. I nodded once. Consequences rarely arrive on schedule. Your room is upstairs. Second door on the right. We'll talk tomorrow. She dragged herself up the stairs, and Noah came to me quietly. Are you really going to forgive her? I watched my daughter disappear down the hallway. Forgiveness requires repentance. What I see isn't repentance. It's regret. And there's a difference. The next day, I stood in court. Allison sat across the aisle, hair unkempt, face pale. Her lawyer whispered furiously, but she couldn't hold herself together. The judge's voice was clear. The asset freeze remains. The evidence of financial impropriety is substantial. Allison snapped. He's destroying everything I built, my business, my home. Miss Caldwell, the judge cut in, using her maiden name. The evidence shows you were prepared to do the same. Objection noted. Overruled. Outside, Allison found me. Her voice was sharp, broken. You've turned my own children against me. I didn't blink.
Non. No chose trousse.
Lily is living the consequences of betrayal. That's not my doing. This isn't about David or that trip, she hissed. This is about control. You can't stand that I found happiness outside your plans. I stared at Allison, my voice cold and deliberate. If what you say was true, I would have confronted you the moment your affair began. But I didn't. I waited. I watched. What I saw wasn't love, wasn't happiness. It was theft dressed as freedom, betrayal masquerading as need. Her shoulders slumped. Her voice softened. I needed security, Victor. You were always working, always building your career while I held the children together. And those same children you were prepared to drag across the country without a word to me? The home you planned to sell in secret? That was your definition of security. She lowered her gaze, her voice a whisper. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said flatly. Not anymore. I turned to leave. Behind me, she called out. The attorney said you're offering settlement terms. Yes, I replied. Generous ones, given the circumstances. What circumstances? The felony-level fraud I could press but won't if you cooperate. Her voice sharpened, desperate. You'll regret this, Victor. Nobody will believe you're the victim. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. The blueprint was drawn. Construction was underway. Chapter 5, Beyond Facades. 1 week into life at the Riverside house, a new rhythm had settled in. Noah kept his distance from Lily. Lily's contrition flickered, bright one moment, gone the next, depending on her latest phone call with Allison. I worked from my study, running projects by day and dismantling a marriage by night. The old house, once a symbol of family pride, had become a public spectacle. Neighbors lingered at the sidewalk, whispering as 20 years of design choices were stripped and thrown into dumpsters. Spanish tiles gone. The reading nook in the master bedroom gutted. Every trace of Allison erased with surgical precision. Franklin Webb arrived one afternoon with papers in hand. Allison's attorney wants mediation. I read the documents.
No mediation.
The terms stand. Victor, the judge may see this as punitive. The judge has seen the bank records. He's read her emails planning my financial ruin. These terms are generous. Franklin sighed. 50-50 division is the norm. You're offering 30. After accounting for the funds she stole, 30 is more than fair. I'm only reclaiming what was mine. And the business equipment? Her future depends on it. Her future ended the moment she financed her affair with business funds. The settlement provides for new gear. That's more than she deserves. The house stays with me. She'll be compensated at fair market value, minus the cost of undoing the mess she left. Franklin gathered the files. I'll relay your position. When he left, I found Lily in the kitchen. She tried to look busy, but I knew she'd been listening. You really won't negotiate with Mom? She asked. Your mother had nearly 2 years to negotiate honestly. She chose lies instead. People make mistakes, Dad. I met her eyes. A mistake is an accident. Your mother's choices were deliberate, sustained, repeated. I poured myself coffee. How's your class prep? Fine, she said. David dropped off some of my stuff yesterday. My hand froze halfway to my lips. David came here? She nodded. Just for a minute. Mom doesn't know. He said he wants to fix things. I almost laughed. Interesting timing. His sudden urge to fix things. Do you know what it really means? It means his reputation is in freefall. 3 major contracts canceled this week. Curious coincidence. Her eyes widened. You're sabotaging him? I've sabotaged nothing. I simply told the truth to the right people about his ethics, about his reliability. Dad, that's not sabotage, I said evenly. That's justice. Or karma. Either way, consequences arrive. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Reeves? This is Isabella Martinez from Westfield Academy. Lily's University. Yes, I said. I'm calling about Lily's tuition. The payment was stopped. That's correct. She's been transferred to State University. I see. We haven't received withdrawal paperwork. You'll have it tomorrow. Thank you. When I told Lily, her reaction was instant. You can't do this. Westfield was our agreement. That agreement existed before you betrayed me. State has an excellent photography program. Your scholarship transfers. My friends are at Westfield. My housing deposit. Consider it part of tuition. Just not the academic kind. Noah, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke. Dad, maybe that's too far. Too far. I turned to him. Your sister excluded me from a trip I paid for. Lied to my face. Helped your mother hide her affair. This isn't cruelty. This is consequence. Later that night, a text lit up my phone. We need to talk. Just us. David Reynolds. I should have ignored it. Instead, I agreed to meet. A coffee shop downtown. Neutral ground. David was already waiting, looking thinner, paler. The swagger was gone. Thank you for coming, he said. Make it quick. I wanted to apologize. The trip, it wasn't supposed to happen like that. I sat across from him. My face unreadable as I leaned across the table, my voice quiet but razor sharp. Enlighten me, Reynolds. What's the proper way to cut a husband out of his own family vacation? David shifted in his chair. His hands fidgeted. His voice cracked. It was wrong. I knew it was wrong. Yet you did it, I said. So why are we here? He swallowed hard. Because this has gone too far. You've made your point. Allison's falling apart. Her business is crumbling. Lily's education's at risk. And your contracts. I interrupted. Yes, I've heard. Curious how choices ripple outward. David leaned forward, desperate. Look, I get it. I'd be furious too. But this scorched earth thing, you're burning everything down. Nobody wins. You're mistaken, I said evenly. I'm winning. Quite decisively. At what cost? His voice rose. Your family, my family, I cut in, was destroyed the moment you and Allison began plotting. Don't confuse my response with the cause. He raked his hands through his hair, looking smaller by the second. What will it take to end this? I studied him. Once he'd been the golden photographer, all charm and confidence. Now he looked like a man begging for scraps of mercy in a coffee shop. Full disclosure, I said. Everything. When it started. Who knew? Every detail. And then what? Then I'll consider whether more action is needed. He hesitated, then nodded. His voice dropped. Allison reached out when I moved back last year. At first, it was professional. I needed studio space. She had connections. Go on. It became personal around Christmas. She told me your marriage was already over, that you were living separate lives. No intimacy for years. The words landed like a blade. I didn't flinch. By February, he continued, we were seeing each other regularly. The Japan trip, that was her idea. She said you weren't enthusiastic, that you'd probably rather stay home and work. And the money? I asked. He lowered his eyes. She said she was securing her future, that you controlled everything, and she needed independence. Did you believe her? I wanted to, but after seeing what you've done, I realized I was manipulated too. I leaned back, my face unreadable. Who else knew? Her friend Natalie. And Lily. She found out in March. Walked in on us at the studio. Allison convinced her it was better for everyone if you and she separated. I let the silence hang. So, I was replaced on the trip? David winced. It was last minute. Allison thought you'd be relieved. Lily suggested the text, that a clean break would be easier. And after? Seattle. He nodded. That was the plan. A fresh start. Allison said you'd be fine. Married to your work anyway. A convenient little narrative. David's voice cracked. I'm not proud of this. But destroying them won't undo it. I stood.
Calm.
Controlled. Thank you for your honesty. It changes nothing. What? His face twisted in disbelief. You chose to participate in a betrayal you didn't fully understand. You trusted the word of a woman with everything to lose. You accepted stolen funds. You helped dismantle a family. Your sudden contrition. It reeks of self-preservation. It means nothing. I turned to leave. Behind me, he called out. She didn't tell you the whole truth about Japan. I paused. It wasn't just a vacation. She had meetings lined up with gallery owners. She was planning to relocate her career there. Permanently. The puzzle clicked into place. Not just an affair. Not just siphon funds. But a complete extraction plan. My money financing her escape route. That night, I made 2 phone calls. The first, to Franklin Webb. Lower the settlement offer by 20%. The second, to a realtor. List the house. As is. Renovations in progress. When Noah heard, he asked, why now? It's no longer about fairness, I said. It's about the message. Betrayal has costs no one can afford. Lily overheard. Her voice broke. You're enjoying this. Their suffering makes you happy. I faced her calmly. I take no pleasure in necessity, but I won't apologize for enforcing consequences. We're still your family, she whispered. Are we? Family means loyalty, honesty, support. Tell me where you've shown any of that. People make mistakes, she said through tears.
Yes.
And wise people learn from others' mistakes. That's the point. I returned to my laptop. Your tuition at state is paid. Your housing arranged. The rest is yours to figure out. She stormed off. Noah lingered. Dad, is there any way back from this? For any of us? I considered his question, then answered. Not back. Forward. Always forward. Later that night, Allison called. Her voice brittle. You listed our house? While it's being gutted. My house, I corrected. And yes. How am I supposed to start over with nothing? The same way I was meant to after you, and David carried out your plan. The difference is you'll walk away with 30%. I was meant to walk away with nothing. Victor, please. We can work this out. We are. Through the courts. That's civilization. This isn't civilized. It's vindictive. Perhaps. But it's proportional. Sleep well, Allison. I ended the call. For the first time, I felt it, the shift inside me. The raw anger cooling into something harder.
Something permanent.
Not just a man betrayed. Not just a husband seeking balance. But an architect of consequences. The house looked like a skeleton.
All stripped bara.
Floors half torn apart. Dust hanging in the air like ghosts of a life that once was. And yet, offers were pouring in. Buyers fighting over a gutted carcass of what used to be our family home. Allison's studio was gone too. Emptied. Every piece of equipment cataloged, boxed, stored. Evidence of how she siphoned marital assets. Her empire of art reduced to a paper trail of theft. And David Reynolds? The celebrated photographer now sat under fluorescent lights at a chain store, snapping passport photos for impatient travelers. His career, his reputation disassembled, just like the house. That morning Franklin Webb arrived at Riverside. He carried a folder heavy with trouble. She's filed a countersuit, he said flatly, alleging emotional abuse and financial coercion throughout the marriage. I took the papers. My expression didn't change. Interesting strategy. Desperate, but not without teeth. He nodded. She submitted affidavits. Therapist's notes. Claims of long-term psychological control. When did she start seeing this therapist? 14 months ago, Franklin answered. Coincides with the start of her financial diversion. Laying groundwork for her narrative. I flipped through the pages. She wants psychological evaluations. For both of us. Standard and contentious divorces with abuse allegations, Franklin said. I have no objection. Schedule it immediately. He looked surprised. Most clients resist. I have nothing to hide. My actions have been reactions, not causes. When Franklin left, I found Noah in the kitchen. He'd overheard. His eyes wide, searching mine. Mom's saying you abused her? She's crafting a counter-narrative, I told him. It's a tactic when evidence tilts against you. In court, truth bends. Perception often outweighs fact. Later that day, the doorbell rang. Standing on the porch was Natalie Winters, Allison's closest friend. Nervous. Wrung hands. Eyes darting. 5 minutes, she pleaded. I stepped aside, but only barely. Distance was important now. What can I do for you, Natalie? This has to stop, she said. Allison's falling apart. David's gone. Lily's devastated about school. Enough is enough. I offered her water. She refused. I understand your concern. But resolution is simple. Allison accepts the settlement terms. They're punitive. And you know it. They're proportional. Had she been honest about divorce, assets would have been divided cleanly. Instead, she chose theft and deception. Her face shifted. Pleading melted into accusation. So this is punishment, not consequence. There's a difference. She didn't make a mistake. A mistake is a slip. A lapse. Allison orchestrated nearly 2 years of calculated betrayal. I leaned closer. My voice sharpened. As her confidant, when did you know about David? Natalie froze. That's not relevant. On the contrary, it shows premeditation. You knew last year, didn't you? Before Christmas? Her silence said everything. And you knew about the money. About Seattle. She was unhappy, Victor. You were distant. Obsessed with work. Interesting how her story leaves out what that work was for. The college funds, the retirement accounts, the Japan trip meant for all of us. The same trip she used to cut me out. Natalie looked away. She didn't see it that way. Of course not. She saw opportunity, extraction, replacement. I stood. Your 5 minutes are up. Tell Allison my terms remain. If she escalates with false abuse allegations, I'll be forced to escalate as well. Natalie's voice broke. Escalate how? You've already taken everything. My face remained still. Not everything. Not yet. She left without another word. That evening, the phone rang. It was the department chair at the university where I lectured. His voice carried unease. Victor, there's been a complaint. A former student claims you made advances during office hours last year. The absurdity nearly made me laugh. That's false. WH. The timing coincides with your guest lectures last fall. I see. You'll find my schedule left no time for private office hours. All consultations were in open lounges. Witnesses everywhere. We'll investigate. I just wanted to warn you. These things escalate quickly. After the call, I rang Franklin immediately. New development. Anonymous sexual misconduct allegation. Coincidental timing, Franklin said dryly. Exactly. Get my lecture schedule. Witness statements from staff. Every interaction documented. If Allison isn't behind this, someone close to her is. That night, Noah returned from a friend's house. He looked uneasy. Dad, people are talking. Rumor is you got fired for harassing a student. Not surprising. When evidence fails, the weapon is character assassination. But it's a lie? Can't you sue? We're addressing it, I said calmly. The process takes time. I studied him. How are you holding up? He shrugged. It's weird. Half my friends think you're a monster for what you're doing to Mom. The other half think you're some kind of revenge genius. And you? What do you think? He hesitated. I think you're right about consequences. But sometimes, I wonder where it ends. It ends, I told him, when justice is satisfied. Not before. Later that night, a text lit my phone. Unknown number. Just one message. The text glowed on my phone. You can't prove anything about the university complaint. But there will be more. Stop now, or watch your reputation burn. I didn't respond. I forwarded it straight to Franklin. Told him to trace the number. Add it to the growing evidence file. Then I checked the security feeds. The family home, quiet. Silent bones under reconstruction. But at Riverside, a car had circled twice in the past hour. Slowing each time. Headlights dragging across the front windows like a predator stalking prey. I knew the car. David Reynolds's vintage Volvo. The next morning, Franklin called. His voice was tight. Victor, development. Someone sent your firm's managing partner's documentation, alleging financial impropriety on the Palmer project. What documentation? Fabricated. But convincing. Enough to trigger an internal audit. I expected this. Escalation was inevitable. Tell them I welcome the audit. I've already prepared a full record of communications and decisions. They'll find nothing. You anticipated this? I anticipated desperate people resorting to desperate measures. Later that day, the psychological evaluation Franklin arranged took place. A sterile room. Neutral walls. A stranger with a clipboard asking if I'd ever controlled, coerced, diminished. I answered each question calmly, truthfully. Every claim supported with documentation. When they asked about my actions toward Allison, I described them as proportional. A measured response to betrayal. My voice carried no anger.
No defensiveness.
The evaluators studied me. Most men in your position show rage, Mr. Reeves. You seem detached. Anger clouds judgment. I prefer clarity. Some might find this calculated response concerning.
Some might.
Others might see it as boundaries in force. When it ended, I drove to the family home. The place was nearly unrecognizable. Allison's fingerprints had been erased. The Spanish courtyard she fought for was gone, replaced with a serene meditation garden of stone and water. Her rustic farmhouse kitchen had been gutted, reborn as sleek, minimalist surfaces. Every choice, every corner, rewritten under my hand. In the master bathroom, as workers adjusted new marble, my phone rang. Lily's voice shook. "Dad, have you seen the news?" "What news?" "It's everywhere. Social media. Photos of you leaving a hotel last year. They're saying you had an affair." I kept my voice steady. "What hotel?" "Westbrook. Downtown. February." The memory came back sharp. That week was the architectural conference. The woman, Elena Gonzalez, a project manager from Denver. We'd had breakfast with clients.
Documented. Witnessed.
Nothing more. "That's not how it looks online," Lily said. "Mom's friends are spreading it everywhere." Truth withstands scrutiny. False stories collapse under investigation. Always. I called the firm's legal team immediately. Explained. Requested hotel security footage. Proof of the meeting. Evidence in motion. That evening, the past showed up at my door. David Reynolds. He looked worse than before, hollow eyes, skin gray under porch light. "You've won, Reeves," he spat. "Happy now?" "This isn't a competition, Reynolds. Tell that to Allison. She's breaking down. Panic attacks.
Can't sleep.
Medication isn't working." Then she should speak with her therapist. The one she conveniently began seeing when she started her affair.
His shoulders sagged.
Defeat clung to him like a shadow. I left her. It's over. I'm moving back to Seattle. Alone. Will that satisfy you? My satisfaction isn't tied to your relationship status. Then what the hell do you want?
Justice.
Accountability. Recognition of what was done. His frustration snapped. She's suffering. Isn't that enough? I looked him dead in the eye. Suffering without understanding is just pain. It teaches nothing. He turned to go. But before stepping off the porch, he fired one last shot. You know why she turned away from you? Because living with you was like living with a machine. All logic. No heart. Congratulations on proving her right. The words could have pierced me. But instead, I studied them like a structural flaw in a building. Was there truth buried there? Maybe. But even machines, when pushed past tolerance, collapse into catastrophic failure. They had mistaken my restraint for coldness, my discipline for absence of feeling. But my actions were not empty. They were fury, grief, betrayal, all channeled, measured, harnessed. Emotion under steel control. That night Franklin called again. Evaluations are complete. Results mixed. The evaluator noted your calculated detachment. Concerning, in his words, but found no evidence of historical abuse or coercion. Allison's evaluation showed anxiety, distress, but also manipulation. Selective disclosure. Net effect neutral. Her allegations won't stand, I said.
No.
But your approach isn't winning sympathy either. I'm not here for sympathy, Franklin. Only resolution. When I hung up, Noah stood waiting in the hallway. His face pale, his voice tired. Why won't you just end this, Dad? Haven't they suffered enough? I studied him. My son. Torn between fear and loyalty. Suffering isn't the objective, Noah. Understanding is. Understanding what? That betrayal comes with cost. Cost you cannot carry. Cost you cannot escape. I put my hand on his shoulder. Firm. Unshaking. This ends when the lesson is learned. Not before. 6 weeks after the failed Japan trip, the dismantling of my old life reached its breaking point. The family home was gone. Sold above asking, even half-gutted, its walls stripped bare of the life we once built. The money now sat in escrow, waiting for the divorce to finalize. Allison's abuse allegations?
Dismissed.
The university complaint? Collapsed under scrutiny. David Reynolds? Back in Seattle. His name dragged through the mud. A man once celebrated now reduced to chasing scraps of work. One by one, the pieces were falling. That afternoon, Franklin arrived at Riverside with a new set of papers in hand. Allison's attorney has accepted your core terms, with minor modifications. I scanned them.
Clean. Precise.
Then I saw her one request. She wants the photography equipment excluded from marital assets. Yes, Franklin said. Given her livelihood depends on it, the judge may lean sympathetic.
Fine, I said.
She can have it. Franklin blinked, caught off guard. Just like that. The equipment was never the point, Franklin. It was leverage. Nothing more. That night, a call came from Natalie Winters. Her voice was tight, urgent. Victor, we need to talk. It's about Allison. I'm listening. She's in the hospital. Severe anxiety attack. They thought it was her heart. She's asking to see you. Where? Mercy General.
Now.
The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and quiet dread. Allison lay pale against white sheets, wires attached to her skin, monitors flickering green with every fragile heartbeat. And 4 dripped slowly into her arm. Her eyes opened, red-rimmed, exhausted. You came, she whispered. Yes. Why? I sat beside her bed.
Calm. Steady.
Because suffering without understanding is just pain. It teaches nothing. She closed her eyes. A bitter exhale. Always the professor. I leaned forward. Why am I here, Allison? Her voice cracked. Because I need this to end. You've won, Victor, she pressed on. Completely. I have nothing left. This was never about winning. Then what? Punishment? Revenge? Justice, I said. Consequences. Proportional to actions. She let out a laugh, sharp, bitter, hollow. Proportional? You've destroyed everything. My business. My reputation. Lily's trust. David's future. All of it. Exactly the things you were prepared to destroy for me, I answered. Without warning. Without remorse. You had a plan, Allison. An extraction. Systematic. Her pulse spiked. The monitor betrayed what her face tried to hide. You diverted money. Isolated me. Built a counter-narrative with your therapist. Replaced me with David. Prepared to liquidate assets. To relocate. You would have erased me completely. My discovery didn't stop your plan. It only sped up your timeline. Her eyes burned. It wasn't like that. The evidence disagrees. I locked onto her.
Cold.
Precise. Tell me, in your plan, what was my portion? What did I get after 21 years? She turned away. You would have been fine. You had your work, your reputation. And nothing else, I finished. No family, no home, no security. A carefully crafted void. Her lip trembled. I wasn't happy, Victor. Then you should have said so. A conversation could have changed everything. But you chose deception. Systematic betrayal. The room sank into silence. Just the rhythmic beeping of the monitor, counting her regret. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What do you want from me now? Acknowledgement. Not just of what you did, but of what you intended it to do. Tears slid down her cheeks. I wanted out. I wanted a new life. I didn't think about what would happen to you. No, I said flatly. You didn't. And this, all of this, is my punishment. Not punishment, I corrected. Education. I rose from the chair. I'll sign the modified agreement. The equipment is yours. The rest stands. She called after me as I reached the door. Her voice broke. There's no coming back from this, is there? For any of us. I paused. Turned halfway. There never was. That choice was made the moment you chose betrayal over honesty. Outside, Noah was waiting in the car. His face pale with questions he didn't want to ask. How is she? Physically stable. Emotionally fragile. Did you forgive her? I started the engine. Forgiveness requires repentance, Noah. What I saw in that room wasn't repentance. Just regret. Regret for consequences, not actions. So, it's still not over? The legal process continues. But for me, the resolution is complete. That evening, Lily arrived. Her eyes searched mine for softness, but found only steel. I heard about Mom. Is she okay? She's recovering. I've conceded the equipment. She nodded slowly. I saw her earlier. She said you were calm, cold. I was rational. That's not the same thing. She thinks you hate her. Hate requires an investment of emotion, Lily. That's no longer something I carry. She studied me as if searching for the father she remembered.
What happened to you?
You used to be different. Betrayal changes perspective, I told her. It realigns priorities. Later that night, Russell from the firm called. His voice steadier than I'd expected. Victor, the internal audit cleared you completely. False alarm. As expected. There's something else, he continued. The partners want to discuss your future. Jensen's retiring next year. They're looking at you for international development. I understood. A promotion. An opening. A new direction. Rising from the ashes. Victor, he added, the way you've handled all this, it hasn't gone unnoticed. After the call ended, I did what had become ritual. I checked the security feeds. The family home sat empty, stripped of life, gutted like a cadaver under reconstruction. But tonight something was wrong. A vehicle sat parked across the street. For more than an hour. The driver lifting a camera, snapping photographs.
I zoomed in.
Captured the license plate.
Sent it to my contact.
Minutes later, the reply came back, registered to Leonard Michaels. Private investigator. Sentinel Securities. The report landed like a crack in glass. Unexpected. Dangerous. I called Franklin immediately. Someone surveilling the family home. Private investigator, he confirmed. Odd at this stage. I'll dig. By morning, the call came back. Franklin's tone carried the weight of unwelcome truth. Victor, the PI doesn't work for Allison. He works for David Reynolds. Reynolds? He's supposed to be in Seattle. Apparently not. My sources place him back here 3 days ago. He's been meeting with Allison. I let that sink in. Their reconciliation was irrelevant to the divorce, unless it wasn't reconciliation at all. Surveillance meant one thing. Evidence gathering. For what purpose? I asked. I don't know yet, but I'd advise caution. That afternoon, a text arrived. From Allison. We need to talk. One last time. Park by Riverside. 5 p.m. The timing was too precise. Too coincidental. Surveillance, then this. My instincts sharpened. I agreed.
But I didn't go blind.
I activated the recorder on my phone. I notified Franklin of my location. The park. Evening light stretched long across the benches. She was already there, waiting.
Composed.
Recovered. And she wasn't subtle. A recording device clipped to her collar, glinting in the fading sun. Too obvious to miss. Too deliberate not to notice. Thank you for coming, she began. I didn't sit. I stayed standing, looking down at her. What do you want, Allison? She took a breath. Tried on a softer tone. I've been thinking about what you said at the hospital. About acknowledgement. And you're right. I was planning your extraction. As you call it. I was deliberate. Systematic. Her sudden candor told me everything. This wasn't confession. This was theater.
Go on, I said.
The affair with David, she continued, it started earlier than you think. 14 months ago. Not 10. The financial diversion began then too. I know, I replied. The forensic accounting left nothing untouched. Her face flickered.
Je n'ai une surprise.
You knew? About all of it?
Yes.
Including your property searches in Seattle. January last year. She recovered quickly. Too quickly. Then you also know about the offshore account. The one in the Caymans. I didn't blink. But the revelation hit hard. New information. Of course, I said smoothly. And you're not angry? That's nearly $100,000. Now I understood.
She wasn't confessing. She was baiting me.
Hoping for an outburst. Something to feed that microphone pinned to her collar. Anger is useless, I told her. If such an account exists, it's already in the documents submitted to the court. Her mask cracked for a moment. Frustration seeping through. You really are a machine. Nothing touches you. Is there anything else? I asked, voice flat. She stood now, dropping the performance. David and I are contesting the settlement. We have evidence of your harassment campaign against him, the canceled contracts, the professional sabotage. An interesting theory, I said. Hard to prove. I've never contacted his clients. We know what you did, Victor. And we'll make sure everyone else does too. I glanced at her collar mic. Is that why you're recording this? Fishing for an admission? She didn't bother denying it. You've destroyed our lives. Systematically. Now we're fighting back. Your lives, I corrected, were dismantled by your own choices. My response was proportional. Proportional, she snapped. You call financial ruin proportional?
Yes.
The difference is transparency versus deception. She took a step back, voice hard. This isn't over, Victor. Not even close. On that, at least, we agreed. Resolution requires acknowledgement, Allison, not just consequence. She turned and walked away, the recording light blinking red against her collar. I called Franklin the moment she was out of sight. Reynolds is back. They're planning counteraction. What kind? Legal challenge. Settlement, defamation. They're building a harassment narrative. She also mentioned an offshore account I didn't know about. Franklin exhaled. If that account exists, it only proves financial misconduct. I'll confirm. That evening, I sat Noah and Lily down. Your mother and David are preparing a harassment case against me. Noah frowned. Can they do that? They can try. Evidence will decide. Lily shook her head. Why can't this just end? Haven't we all suffered enough? I looked at them both. Because pain without understanding is wasted. The lesson has to be complete. Later, an anonymous email arrived. Attached were photographs. Allison and David entering the PI's office. Meeting with new legal counsel. And most damning, David at an ATM, withdrawing cash. The card bore foreign banking identifiers. I forwarded it all to Franklin. For words in the subject line. Follow the money. This wasn't reaction anymore. This was blueprint. The architecture of consequence entering its final phase. The point where justice and truth collide. Chapter 8. Checkmate. 7 weeks after Japan, the pieces had shifted again. Franklin's investigation confirmed it. The offshore account was real. Allison's maiden name. Opened 13 months earlier. Funded by marital assets disguised as vendor payments. Nearly $97,000 tucked away in shadows. I nodded when Franklin delivered the numbers. Another line on the blueprint. Another crack in the foundation of her story. The moment Franklin laid the evidence in front of me, the structure became clear. Additional proof of financial diversion. Not speculation. Not rumor. Hard evidence. Undisclosed foreign assets. Franklin explained, his voice steady. Fraud upon the court. We've filed emergency motions to freeze the account and request sanctions. And Reynolds? I asked. He's a signatory. Added 3 months ago. That ties him directly to the misconduct. I leaned back, calculating. Their harassment countersuit collapses under the weight of their own fraud. The judge has scheduled an emergency hearing for tomorrow. When Franklin left, I found Noah and Lily in the kitchen. Their voices fell silent the moment I stepped in. You can continue, I said. Transparency builds trust. They exchanged a glance. Noah spoke first. We were talking about Mom's account. Is she going to jail? Unlikely, I said. Unless the IRS steps in. Civil penalties are more likely. Lily's face tightened. This just keeps getting worse. Actions, I told her, create cascades. One choice leads. A principle worth remembering. That evening, my phone lit up with a Seattle number. David Reynolds. His voice was taut, on edge. You found the account? Yes.
How?
Your reconciliation with Allison triggered scrutiny. Professional investigators are thorough. He exhaled hard into the receiver. What happens now? The legal system addresses fraud as it must. It was Allison's idea. The account. The transfers. I only got involved recently. Yet you accepted the benefits, I said, and helped conceal it. A pause. Then, I'm calling to make a deal. I don't make deals, Reynolds. I pursue resolution. I have information about Allison's long-term plans. Things you don't know. I let silence hang. What are you proposing? Full disclosure. Everything. In exchange, you drop me from any financial claims tied to the account. You're offering to betray Allison to save yourself? I'm offering the truth, he said. And isn't that what you've wanted all along? I ended the call without answer and contacted Franklin. Deposition. Tomorrow morning, before the hearing. Then I sent Allison a simple text. Reynolds has offered full disclosure in exchange for immunity. Her reply was instant. He's lying. Don't believe him. I didn't respond. I'd seen structural failure before. Once the foundation splits, collapse is inevitable. The next morning, I watched from behind the glass as David Reynolds sat down for deposition. He looked pale, nervous, a man drowning in his own choices. Franklin's voice carried steady authority. Mr. Reynolds, when did your relationship with Allison begin? Last January, David admitted. She told me her marriage was over, just waiting for the right time to end it. When did financial discussions begin? Almost immediately. She said Victor controlled everything. She needed to secure her future before leaving. Did you question the ethics of these transfers? He hesitated, eyes darting toward the observation window. I rationalized it. She said Victor undervalued her contributions, that this was her share. When did the offshore account come into play?
March.
She set it up through a contact, a financial advisor who handles high-net-worth divorces. And your involvement? None at first. I became a signatory in February when we started serious planning. What kind of planning? He swallowed, looked straight toward the glass, as if he could feel me watching. Relocation to Seattle. Business setup. Property acquisition. Allison had picked a waterfront house. Down payment was scheduled for July. Offshore funds and proceeds from selling the Philadelphia home. And Victor? Franklin pressed. Was he aware?
No.
The plan was for me to move first. Allison would file for divorce after securing the assets, then join me with Lily. Noah would stay with Victor. And the Japan trip? David looked down at his hands. Dual purpose. She was meeting with Japanese galleries. Also establishing an absence pattern for the divorce. My inclusion was last minute. A cover story. Her birthday trip. Whose idea was it to exclude Victor by text? He exhaled. Lily suggested it. Said a clean break was easier. Franklin nodded. And now? Your relationship with Allison. David shifted in his chair. Complicated. The offshore account exposure changed everything. Franklin joined me afterward in the observation room. Compelling testimony. Self-serving, yes, but it lines up with our evidence. The judge will find it credible. That afternoon, the courtroom turned into a battlefield. Allison walked in with new counsel, a high-profile litigator built for war. She carried herself with a mix of indignation and fear. Every glance calculated. Every word rehearsed. The judge studied the documents carefully. Bank records. Transfers. The offshore account. Then Franklin submitted David's deposition. I watched Allison's composure fracture in real time. Her breath quickened. Her hands clenched. Her voice cracked. He's lying. This is coercion. The judge remained unmoved. Miss Caldwell, the records corroborate Mr. Reynolds' testimony. And with that, the foundation she'd built crumbled beneath her. The gavel struck like a hammer on glass. The court finds clear evidence of fraudulent concealment of marital assets. The ruling came swift and decisive. The offshore account frozen. Financial sanctions imposed. The file referred to the IRS. Most damning of all, the settlement I'd agreed to was vacated. Fraud poisons everything it touches. Outside the courtroom, Allison cornered me. Her voice low, sharp, cutting through the murmur of reporters and attorneys. You turned David against me. David turned himself, I said. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator. This isn't justice, Victor. It's destruction. The distinction matters less than you imagine. That evening, the fallout spread like wildfire. Allison was suspended from her professional association, pending an ethics review. Clients pulled their contracts one by one. Years of reputation gone in a single news cycle. Noah found me in my study, papers spread across my desk. Dad, is it true? Mom could face criminal charges.
Possible, I said.
Tax authorities take offshore accounts seriously. And David? He just walks away. His testimony expedited resolution. A practical compromise. Noah studied me, searching for something. You don't seem happy. Even with all this. Resolution isn't happiness, Noah. It's balance restored. What happens to Mom now? She begins again. But this time with clarity about consequences. Later that night, Lily's text arrived. Mom's completely broken. Was this always your plan? I typed back slowly. My response was proportional. The consequences only reflect the depth of her deception. The next morning, Franklin arrived with the revised settlement. Allison receives 15% of marital assets, minus fees and sanctions. Offshore account remains frozen until the IRS completes its review. I scan the documents. Her business finished. Suspension meant no insurance, no credibility, no future in Philadelphia. As for Reynolds, Franklin added, he's already back in Seattle. No financial penalties. But his career? Finished. Agencies have stripped him from their lists. I signed without comment. The blueprint had held. Systematic betrayal met with systematic consequence. That afternoon, a knock at my door. Allison. She looked nothing like the woman I once knew. Shoulders slumped, eyes hollow, defeat written across her frame. May I come in? She asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. In the living room, she stayed standing, ignoring the chair I offered. I need to understand. Was this always your plan? From the moment you saw Lily's text. There was no plan, I said. Only response. Appropriate to discovery. But the precision, the way you dismantled everything I built. Mirrored your precision. Your dismantling of everything we built. Not the same. Her voice cracked. I was unhappy, desperate for escape. You, vengeful, cold, destroying me. An interesting distinction without difference. Both were systematic. Both executed without concern for the target. I never wanted to ruin you, she whispered. I only wanted to extract value. To survive. A parasite, then. Not a predator. David's testimony confirmed the scope of your plan.
Property.
Relocation. Replacement. It was comprehensive. Long-term. And now, she asked, eyes wet. Now that everything is in ruins, are you satisfied? I studied her face. A stranger's face, wearing the features of 21 years of my life. Satisfaction was never the objective. Understanding was. Understanding what? That betrayal is annihilation. That actions carry cost. That once trust fractures, it cannot be rebuilt. Her breath caught. She turned toward the door. You've become someone I don't recognize. As have you, I said. The difference is, I see it clearly. In the hallway, Noah stood frozen. He'd heard everything. Is it really over now? He asked. I nodded. The legal war is finished. The personal truth established. Our family, redefined by choice and consequence. That night, alone in my study, I laid out the records of the past 7 weeks. Lily's casual text. The Japan trip that never happened. The hearings. The rulings. The collapse. The architect's blueprint had been executed with precision. Betrayal met with proportionate consequence. A perfect structure of response built upon the cracked foundation of deceit. But as I stared at the pages, I knew the truth. Some structures, once demolished, can never be rebuilt. Some lessons, once learned, reshape you forever. Integrity was non-negotiable. And once a failure point is revealed, it can never be unseen. Chapter 9: New Foundations. 3 months after the Japan trip, I sat in my new office overlooking the Philadelphia skyline. The promotion came quietly, without ceremony, but it carried weight. Managing partner. International development. higher compensation, heavier responsibility, and above all, the validation that precision under pressure mattered. My partners had watched me survive personal collapse without faltering at the firm. They saw control where others would have unraveled. They rewarded it. The Riverside house was now permanent. Smaller, simpler, stripped of pretense. The family home, sold for 12% above asking, was gone. Its proceeds already divided by the court's hand. Allison had left Philadelphia. Not for Seattle.
Portland.
A deliberate distance from David Reynolds, as if even she knew that story was poisoned beyond repair. She worked now as an assistant in a photography studio. Credentials under review. Future uncertain. Franklin Webb arrived with the final documents. The last consultation. All financial matters are resolved, he said. The offshore account has been liquidated. Funds distributed. IRS investigation continues, but criminal charges appear unlikely. I signed without hesitation. Clean strokes.
No wasted motion.
And the children? I asked. Noah remains with you through graduation. Lily has transferred to state. Your support continues. All straightforward. Franklin paused. Reynolds is back in Seattle. His reputation, damaged beyond repair. 3 agencies have blacklisted him. No penalties, but his career is effectively finished. I closed the folder. Then we're complete. Franklin hesitated again. There is one final matter. Allison requested a letter. He handed me a sealed envelope. I took it without expression. Thank you, Franklin, for everything. When he left, I broke the seal. Her words unfolded like an autopsy. Victor, this letter represents my last communication. 3 months of reflection have given me the clarity I once lacked. Acknowledgement. My actions were deliberate. The offshore account. David. The financial diversion. Each part calculated to extract maximum benefit while minimizing your awareness. I convinced myself it was justified. Recognition. Your response was devastating, but proportional. You mirrored my precision with your own. Betrayal met consequence with symmetry. I won't ask for forgiveness. It feels irrelevant to the architectural mind I once admired, then resented. Instead, I offer understanding. You were right. Betrayal carries unsustainable cost. The price extends long after payment begins. David and I are finished. Not because of you, but because anything born of betrayal collapses under scrutiny. The account that symbolized our future became the evidence that destroyed it. Lily's struggles. Her part was smaller, less calculated, but still complicit. I see now that her moral flexibility was something I nurtured. Another consequence I failed to anticipate. I don't know if my defeat brings you satisfaction. Knowing you, probably not. You'll see it clinically as the natural outcome of flawed structures tested to failure. Portland offers me reconstruction. Modest. Appropriate. But viable. I begin again with the principle you always embodied. Integrity is non-negotiable. Failure points, once identified, can never be unseen. Allison. I placed the letter in the file with every other record of dissolution. Her words had weight. The architecture of her collapse was finally clear, even to her. That evening, Noah found me in my office, papers spread across the desk. I was drafting plans for my first international project under the new title.
Dad, he said.
Can we talk about college? Of course. I've been thinking about architectural engineering instead of straight engineering. After watching you these past months, I saw something. How you build and unbuild. How you see structures others don't. I studied him. An architectural mind carries both advantages and limits. Yeah, he nodded. I noticed. He hesitated. Lily called earlier. She's struggling at state. Says she misses Westfield. Asked if you'd let her transfer back. I leaned back in my chair. Actions have consequences, Noah. Reversing them undermines the lesson. I told her the same, he admitted. Then his eyes narrowed. But you're never going to forgive them, are you?
Mom.
Lily. Any of them. Forgiveness implies emotion, I said. What exists now is structural resolution. balance restored. What's the difference? Emotion requires sentiment. Structure requires balance. That's enough. Noah absorbed it. And you're satisfied with that? Just balance. No connection? Connection requires reliability. Reliability requires integrity. Both failed. Once failure is revealed, it cannot be unseen. He nodded, but I saw the weight on him. Later that night, Lily's text arrived. I understand why you won't let me transfer. I'm trying to accept it. I replied simply. Acceptance is the foundation of reconstruction. 2 days later, I stood outside the old family home. It was no longer mine. New owners had transformed it. Fresh paint. A new garden. Children's toys scattered across the lawn. A house rebuilt. A structure repurposed. But foundations? Foundations never lie. Every trace of my old life was gone. The walls repainted. Fixtures replaced. Landscaping unrecognizable. The courtyard where Allison and I once celebrated anniversaries was now littered with children's toys. A swing set stood where we had once shared wine under lantern light. The kitchen, once the heart of our family, was gutted, rebuilt with cold steel and polished stone. Sleek, modern, soulless. I didn't feel sorrow. I felt confirmation. Structures, once compromised, can't be restored. They aren't patched. They're replaced. Back at Riverside, I found Noah packing a duffel. Weekend trip with friends. Will you be okay alone, Dad? He asked. I smiled faintly. Of course. My existence doesn't require continuous companionship. He looked at me hard. You know, most people would still be angry.
Or sad.
Something. Those emotions serve no purpose now. Maybe not. But at least they'd prove you're still human. Later, the phone rang. Russell from the firm. The Palmer Project Committee signed off today. They want you for their Seattle development.
Specifically you.
Seattle, I said quietly. Interesting coincidence. Not coincidence, Russell replied. They heard about how you handled your divorce. The precision, the balance, impressed the hell out of them. Professional advancement, born from personal dissolution.
Symmetry.
When do we begin? Next month. Site visit first. Oversight after. You'll stay Philly-based, but you'll fly out regularly. I opened my laptop that night, researching Seattle properties. To most, it might have looked like revenge, but that word didn't fit. Revenge was emotional, unstable. This was different. This was about completion. Structural verification. A test of sustainability. Hours later, a text lit up my phone. Unknown number. Seattle area code. Heard you might be on the Palmer Project. I've removed myself from consideration for the photography contract. Some structures shouldn't intersect again. It was Reynolds. I didn't respond. His silence spoke louder than anything. Even he now understood. Some failure points can never be reinforced. 3 days later, I sat in the high school auditorium. Noah's name called. Academic award ceremony. Engineering scholarship. His shoulders squared, his face lit by the stage lights. Continuation of structural integrity across generations, not taught, but absorbed by watching. Example, not instruction. On the drive home, he broke the silence. I talked to Mom yesterday. How's she adjusting? Surviving. Not thriving. She asked about you. What did you tell her? The truth. That you're the same man. Just pointed in a different direction now. I nodded. Accurate assessment. She said something strange, he added. Told me to tell you she finally understands what you meant. About betrayal carrying unsustainable cost. Said the bill keeps coming long after the price is paid. A belated insight, but valid. He studied me carefully. Do you think you'll ever talk to her again? Outside of matters involving you or Lily?
No.
There's no purpose. What about Lily? She's really trying, Dad. Her efforts are acknowledged. Her education supported. But reconciliation requires more than regret. It requires understanding. That night, I reviewed the final stack of documents. The full record of dissolution. Pages of evidence. Depositions. Court rulings.
Sanction.
Each sheet a blueprint. Each line a calculation. I didn't file them for closure. Not for vengeance. I filed them as proof. Proof that integrity, once fractured, can't be restored. It must be replaced with new foundations. I had always built with precision, with patience, with uncompromising attention to detail. That same discipline now applied to life itself. And from that discipline, an irrefutable law emerged. Betrayal carries unsustainable cost. Immutable as gravity. Final as collapse. Permanent as failure in a load-bearing wall. The blueprint was complete. The structure stood. And I moved forward, my foundations uncompromised.